The expansion of Irving's Heritage Park is pushing ahead. Along with a lot more space,
you're going to have a built-in amphitheater with an LED screen out there that's going to allow for a lot of programming and activities.
In addition to all that's modern, a favorite familiar feature is getting a major makeover. This red caboose.
In my world, we call that a large artifact.
Historic preservationist Ron Siebler is leading a team working to restore the caboose.
It's something I love to do and am blessed to be able to do it both as an occupation and a profession.
The caboose represents train's role in Irving's history. In 1902, J.L. Schultz and Otis Brown decided to start a town along newly laid tracks they were surveying. That town became Irving. This caboose is a symbol of that era.
Well, I think it's always important to remember how we started. I mean, we came about in Irving, Texas because of transportation, and in those days it was rail transportation. So when we talk about our heritage, we want to make sure that we include that caboose as part of the understanding of how this city started.
Tell me about the historical significance of this caboose.
It started life actually as a boxcar. Probably built sometime around 1911, 1914 for what we now know as the Burlington Northern Railroad. It is what's called a metal frame or an exterior frame boxcar.
I think that's one of the big wooden beams.
Inside the caboose, work is underway to inventory each and every part.
We'll have to catalog all little pieces of wood, the siding and the floor, see what's left. Anything that has to be remade will be remade.
The restoration we're doing is what I refer to as a frame off. Everything comes apart. Every board you see will be taken down and reconditioned.
They're careful to photograph and measure everything because they will have to get it all back in just the right place.
Months from now, when we start putting it back together, you can't rely on your memory. There's just too many parts here.
What's been the biggest surprise that you found so far in there?
The fire. The fact that the caboose at some point had been engulfed in fire.
It became pretty evident that most of the ceiling wood up here is going to have to be replaced in this section.
That was not evident to us until we began last week pulling that paneling down, and it has revealed itself to us.
Every piece in here helps fill in details of life on this caboose nearly a century ago.
Just some of the dauber stuff that I was talking to you about. There we go. Trying to find out what goes where.
The sad part is we don't figure everything out. We often run into things, little hints of what is this, what was this for.
In search of answers, they will crawl underneath the caboose, find and analyze old photos of it, whatever it takes to learn how people lived on here.
Your train crew consisted not just of an engineer, but a fireman who stoked the fire to keep the boilers and the steam engine working. You had brakemen who would literally manually operate the brakes on the cars. You had the conductor.
All in that small caboose?
All in that small caboose. And all those people had to have some place to stay and sleep and eat when the train was in motion, and the caboose served that function.
There are also some chapters of modern history worth sharing.
Kind of interesting. I used to belong to this guy. He was one of the voices of Big Tech.
Welcome to the State Fair of Texas.
For details, we go back to the dedication ceremony for this caboose in 1993.
We then heard about a Bill Bragg who had acquired one for the Communications Museum. Bill was going to put it in his house in Richardson, took a building permit out to do this. They got the tracks laid in his backyard, and they got the first set of wheels from the car and put it in his backyard, and the city council in Richardson found out about it and was highly offended, issued a court order to stop him from doing that.
Groups teamed up to buy the caboose for $11,000.
To find an old wooden historic caboose as we have here is a really exciting find for us.
We got the tracks, the car, delivered on our premises for what we consider a price less than the cost of the car itself. So we think we made a pretty good buy for the future young people in Irving.
And that is still the goal. The restoration is expected to be complete by the time the updated Heritage Park opens next year. Once this caboose opens, what impression do you want people to take away from their visit?
Well, authenticity is the first. It will help those of you a little younger than me to understand how maybe your grandfather who worked on the railroad, what his living conditions might have been like.
The city of Irving have a nice little caboose people can come in and check out.
A project that is on track to connect the city's past with what will be the most updated park. Thomas Gandy for CitySource.